Hi K12s, happy Earth Week. So in honor of Earth Week, we are going to do an experiment today that has to do with water and the sun. Two things that the earth gives us that are really important and very valuable. So the materials that you'll need for this experiment are a bowl filled with water that's about as deep as your pinky, and I used a mixing bowl, some kind of big bowl. It works great. You also need a smaller bowl or cup that is heavy enough that when it's set in here, it doesn't float around, it just sits on the bottom. Then you need food coloring, a rubber band and tape. If you don't have one of these, just get extra of the other. You could use either or a combination of both. I'm gonna use a combination of both today. You need something to weigh that has a little bit of weight, maybe a stuffy, maybe a couple of rocks. I'm using this little baby cup. And then the last thing you need is plastic wrap, like that you wrap sandwiches in. We don't have that at my house, so I took a tortilla bag and just cut it. You need something that is completely see-through or transparent so that you can see through it completely, and it needs to be a little bit bigger than the size of the top of your big bowl. So you might want scissors too. And then the final thing that you need is just a spoon or something to mix the food coloring in. So go ahead and pause the video and then press play once you have all of your materials and a workspace for yourself. Keep filming. Okay, welcome back. So now that we have all of our materials, I'm going to spend a moment explaining what this experiment is, and then we'll go ahead and set it up. So we are very fortunate that we live in places where you can run the tap and get clean water that you can drink. This is not the case in a lot of places. For example, there are some cities and countries where the water isn't very reliable. It's not always clean enough to drink. Also, maybe you're camping and you don't have your sink with you, so you have to pull water from a stream or from a lake to drink it and to cook with it. One way that we clean water is that we do this process called distilling, where we use heat to heat up the water, and that kind of separates out the clean water from the impurities or those little bits that make it unsafe for us to drink for whatever reason. So we are going to do an experiment that kind of creates the distilling process. It isn't as intense as obviously the water treatment plants around do, because we're just doing a little experiment and we're using the sun. They have much more in-depth things. So this is not something you can do where you take a puddle outside, and if you do this experiment, you can drink it. But it is a fun experiment just to see how the process works. Okay, so I am going to go ahead and get started with my experiment. The first thing to do is take my bowl with a little bit of water and put in my food coloring. I have 4 options. You might have more or less. I have yellow, green, blue, and red. I always choose blue. That's my favorite color. But in honor of Earth Week and just being a little creative, I'm going to try and create a purple by mixing blue and red. I'm making it pretty thick, like I did 6 drops of blue. And you can be doing this too, and at any moment you can pause the video if you're saying, oh wait, my food coloring's in another room or something else, or you're just not going at the same pace as me. You can pause the video and get caught up and then resume the video. Okay, so I have this, and I actually, just stay right there, I forgot my spoon So I'm just gonna grab one. Okay, back with a spoon. So I'm mixing it up so it's a nice deep purple. Wow. Kind of looks like cough syrup. Okay, the food coloring that I put in represents the impurities or those dirty bits that I mentioned before. Obviously, food coloring is actually safe to drink and eat, but for the experiment, we're just using it to represent those bits that we don't want in our water. And then everything else in there came from my tap, which is clean, so that's the clean water. Okay, so I have my food coloring in here. Next, I'm going to put that smaller bowl that's kind of heavy in my bigger bowl. So it's sitting there right on the bottom. Next, I'm going to cover it with my plastic wrap. So I'm laying this over, and I'm going to put my rubber band around it. Takes a little bit of patience and being careful. Stretch it out. Okay, and then I'm pulling my plastic wrap so that it's pretty tight. So I'm kind of holding my rubber band in place as I pull down my plastic wrap. And then why I'm also using the tape is that there's some areas, and this is partly because I didn't actually have plastic wrap, so I had to use what I had. Yours might be big enough, but there's some spaces where my rubber band, where the plastic wrap doesn't go down to the rubber band. So I'm just going to tape it to keep that seal. There's a spot over here that I saw. I'm kind of just looking around. Oh, and I see one more. Oh, and I actually have a piece of spare tape. Okay. So, I have my plastic wrap. It's pretty tight, little drum. And now I'm going to set my weight. Again, maybe I have this little cup. Maybe you have a couple of rocks or stuffy. And I'm going to set it so that it's above that big old bowl down there. And what this does is it creates a slight dip that is going to come in handy later. So I have set up my experiment. What you're going to do now, and what I'm going to do, is move it to a spot that gets a lot of sun. Maybe this is a windowsill. Maybe you have a little backyard area where you can put it and store it. And maybe it's another spot in your house that just gets really sunny. You can talk to a grown-up about a safe spot where no one's going to knock it over, because you're going to actually let it sit for a couple of days. And so I'm gonna go put mine by a window that gets some good sun, and you can pause this and press play tomorrow. So come back to this video tomorrow, and there will be me checking in on mine so that you can check in on yours tomorrow. Great, thanks, see you then. Hi everybody, it's day 2 of the science experiment. I'm up here checking on the bowl and the science experiment, seeing what I notice. So I'm gonna show you. I'm up here, it's one of those funny days where it's super sunny, but there is still snow. I'm watching all the snow melt throughout the day. I wonder where the snow goes, because it's not making a puddle. All right, so what I noticed is that, let me get to where you can kind of see it more. So you can see it was starting to be more of a dip in the plastic wrap. I don't know really why, and I'm not going to mess with it. I'm just going to wonder what happened to make it slightly less taut, less tight. Also, you can see there's a ton of water droplets. In fact, there's so many water droplets, it almost looks like it's like snake skin. That's what it kind of looks like to me. I might write that down or share that with someone. I can't really see inside my tiny bowl in there, but I do see that there is still plenty of purple water in the bowl. All right, so I'm just going to leave it here and check back in it tomorrow. Thanks. Hi everybody, it's day 3 of the science experiment for Earth Week. So I'm going to check it out. I'm going to take off my weight. I noticed there's a ton of water droplets here. I noticed those yesterday. It seems like they're kind of streaking in toward the center where that dip was. Okay, I'm gonna carefully lift this up. Alrighty, let's see. It's really wet. If you'll come on in here and check it out. It's super wet on the sides of the bowl, which I hadn't noticed before. And I also noticed when I lift up my little bowl, there's water inside. Wow, it was empty when we started the experiment. Also, what I noticed is that it's clear water. It's not purple like this water in here. So there's a lot of stuff going on. There's moisture all over the bowl and the plastic and in here. And that this, I would have thought that it would have just been purple like this. So I'm curious what's going on. What I want you all to do is I want you to think about what was going on here. What did the sun have to do with this big bowl, and what did the sun have to do with water ending up in here, and why isn't this water the color that we started with? And once you make those predictions and think about it, I posted another video where I explain what's going on scientifically, so you can watch that video after you do the experiment and think about it and reflect. You can choose to write down your thoughts or just share them with a friend. You can call a friend or share them with someone in your family. Okay, thanks, bye.